How's it going, guys? Cody, guys, back again, dropping out another video. Right, guys, this is a story in my local paper, which is the Manchester Evening News. Link in the description below, like I always do. Headline reads, a growing number of ex-prisoners are dying on the system's watch. Campaigners think they know why. The spread of drugs such as spice is having a devastating impact. A growing number of ex-prisoners are dying on probation, and campaigners, that I'm sure that's supposed to say a growing number of ex-prisoners are dying on probation's watch, but it says anyway. And campaigners say that the street drug spice is one of the reasons why. There were 71 deaths of offenders on probation supervised by Cheshire and Greater Manchester CRC in 2017 to 2018. This was up from 42 deaths of people supervised by the CRC in 2016 to 2017 and was the highest number in a year since the system, which was overhauled and part privatised, with probation trust replaced by community rehabilitation companies and the National Probation Service 4.5 years ago. Of the 71 deaths which occurred under the supervision of Cheshire and Greater Manchester CRC, 36 were from natural causes, 15 were self-inflicted, and 7 were accidental. There were also 3 murders, 6 unclassifieds, and 4 others. As well as the deaths of offenders supervised by the CRC, a further 59 were recorded in 2017 to 2018 among offenders under the supervision of the National Probation Service North West Division, who deal with higher risk offenders. That was down from 72 in 2016 to 2017. These offenders may either have been serving their court sentence in the community or could have been on post-release supervision after leaving prison. Of the 59 deaths under the National Probation Service supervision, 9 were unclassified, while 30 deaths occurred from natural causes. 16 were self-inflicted and 3 were accidental. There was also 1 murder. In spite of the overall, in Greater Manchester and in England and Wales, the number of deaths of ex-prisoners on probation increased. Campaigners say homelessness, cuts to services and spice are to blame. One explanation for the increasing number of deaths could be that the Act increased the numbers of offenders supervised by probation service by an estimated 45,000 a year. To all offenders are given custodial sentences. Previously, 1 adult sentenced to more than 12 months in custody and all young offenders were subject to statutory supervision. Across England and Wales, a total of 955 offenders being supervised in the community died in 2017 to 2018. The figure includes 659 deaths of offenders supervised by the CRC, an increase from 533 in 2016 to 2017, and 296 deaths of offenders supervised by the National Probation Service, up from 286. This is a 17% increase from 819 in the previous year and is the highest number since record began in 2010 to 2011. Some 300 of the deaths were due to natural causes. A further 285 were self-inflicted, 75 were accidents, 27 were homicides and 17 were classed as other. The remaining 251 deaths were unclassified. And it shows a picture here of David Richardson, who died after coming out of prison with a spice addiction. God bless David Richardson, may you rest in peace. David Richardson from Wythenshawe was on probation when he was killed by a car on the M60 days before Christmas in 2016. Having come out of prison with a spice addiction early this year, his mother told the MEN that the whole system let him down. Francis Crook, the chief executive of the Howard League for Penal Reform, said, "It is extremely concerning to see such a sudden rise in the number of people who have died whilst being supervised in the community. Further investigation is required, but raises fears that the cycle of homelessness cuts to local government and voluntary sector provision. And the spread of drugs such as spice is having a devastating impact." The Howard League also blamed the part privatisation of the probation service, saying, "The system was now fragmented, and some people are not even met face to face. When it had previously been a successfully public-run probation service with qualified and trained staff who saw their mission as befriending and turning lives around. The Offender Rehabilitation Act of 2014 created 23 CRCs, private and/or charitable sector organisations responsible for medium and lower risk offenders in the community, while the new National Probation Service was established for higher risk offenders in the community. We put the claims to the Ministry of Justice, who said there was no evidence that the deaths had anything to do with reorganisation of the system, but provided no further comment, as usual." Earlier this year, a report from the Inspectorate of Probation said CRC's commissioned in 2014 overhaul of the service a stretch beyond their capacity. It claimed private companies were failing to enforce their sentences handed down by the courts, leaving convicts to commit more crime and even disappear. The report followed an earlier one which said the public were being put at risk by some CRCs when monitoring ex-offenders using simply phone calls. God, that's a tongue twister, that. Really some really tough flowing stuff there. Guys, you know what, right? The fact is, right, so what they're saying there is they're not trying to make any direct correlation between obviously the privatization and the reorganization. But the truth is, the facts are there. It's cost lives. And obviously, when you have served a prison sentence, right, every prisoner that leaves prison, I don't care if you're an addict or if you're not an addict, every prisoner that leaves prison should be going into a hostel or should have some sort of accommodation there. Because the reality is, right, as soon as you are released, if you've got, do you know what, guys, right? I remember doing an interview once where the radio guy was like, I know you can't leave prison until you've got somewhere to live. Absolute rubbish. I've left prison 3 times. Did they ask me where I was going, if I was okay? Did they have somewhere to live? No, absolutely not. They don't care. Just like, right, get your £46, which is your discharge grant. That's something that every prisoner gets, unless you like. I think I didn't get one when I was on remand, but I got one on the 2 that I was sentenced and stuff like that. Got me £46 and they kicked me out the door. They didn't ask you if you've got anywhere to live. If you've got nowhere to live, guys, you're going to fall back into the pattern. I've seen people go to prison having never taken drugs in their life and are leaving as addicts. I've seen people go to prison addicted to cannabis and then have become addicted to spice. I've seen heroin addicts get weaned off heroin and get weaned onto spice. And then they've lost their accommodation because they've been in prison. Not everyone in prison, guys, has got kids and a family support network and a home to go to. A lot of them haven't. So when they leave prison, they fall straight into the cracks, straight back into the gutter, and spice gets them off the nut. It's because they've got nothing to live for, have they? The only people that prosper in prison are those that have got nothing on the outside. When these prisoners are being released, they go straight back. They might go to soup kitchens, but they're sleeping in doorways, man. I live in Manchester, guys. If I go into the city now, right, Piccadilly Gardens and round about Portland Street and everything, Oldham Street, just homeless people getting about, man. What do you think they do then, guys? They commit crime to feed the habits. And then, like I say, people are overdosing and people are dying on probation's watch. It's disgusting, man. It's wrong, guys, on so many levels. Every prisoner who leaves prison should have somewhere to live. The longer you're in prison, if you're working in a prison, and like every prisoner that works in prison should get minimum wage, right? That then, because you can only spend so much a week on your canteen, depending on what your IEP status is. For those that don't know, IEP stands for Incentives Earned Privileges. It's like a 4-stage behavioural thing. You've got basic, you've got entry, you've got standard, and you've got enhanced. Because you can only spend so much on the canteen, the rest of the money should be put into a savings account that the prisoner can't touch. And then when he leaves, it's given to him a lump sum so he can find some accommodation, right? If you ship with money, then they should put the money, they should say, right, we will speak to a housing organisation, we will put money down on a bond and a deposit. Right? I'm talking about using it from the prisoner's money that he's earned. The longer you're in prison, the more you learn, to get a bond and a deposit together so that when they leave, they've got somewhere to live. If you've got a foundation to work up from, guys, that's what you need in place, a membrane, something to work up from. But too many people are leaving prison, falling straight back into their old routine. And then they have to commit crime to feed the habit, which fuels the cycle of crime. Reoffending costs the taxpayer £15 billion a year. But these prisoners, these vulnerable prisoners that are leaving prison, they're vulnerable because, like I say, they're susceptible and they're addicts. And it's inevitable that they're going to commit crime and end up back in prison. And then we wonder why prisons are a revolving door. Or in the case of these prisoners that have dropped dead, on probation's watch, it's disgusting. How does going to probation, guys, once a week for 5 minutes aid rehabilitation? Simple. It doesn't. And like I say, guys, you've even heard there that they're doing the probation have done calls over the phone. It's crazy, guys. Supervision orders, top-up supervision orders, crazy. Right, guys, going to leave it here. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.